Hello, I am Anila, and this is the Sikh Nation Report, where I cover the Khalistan movement. Today, I want to highlight a conversation I had with Dr. Gurinder Grewal. I've called him a Sikh separatist in the title, and indeed he is. But as a person of Indian origin, I can say that we have a certain view of Sikh separatists. It's formed out of that hellish decade in the 80s and 90s when the Sikh separatist movement caused mayhem and fear in the country. I wanted to challenge that view a little bit by speaking to an urbane intellectual, a medical doctor, who proudly showed me his library the moment I walked into his house. Dr. Grewal is the founder and publisher of World Sikh News and a Sikh activist of many years. You'll hear in the interview how he became engaged in these issues starting in 1984. He supports the idea of a sovereign nation for Sikhs. In the common parlance, this is called Khalistan. I will say up front that I disagree with Dr. Grewal on several issues, but that is what makes this conversation interesting. I don't agree that India should break up to create a new nation for Sikhs. I don't see Bhindranwale, the cleric, who was at the center of the Punjab insurgency in the 80s, as a martyr, but as a domestic terrorist, as a vigilante, and a militant. I don't think the government of India is deliberately creating a problem of drug addiction in Punjab. If these opinions being expressed bother you, you'd be better advised to stop listening. On the other hand, I do agree with him on various points. I think what the political leaders did to innocent Sikhs in 1984 after the Prime Minister's assassination was a real atrocity. Not only were they not punished, some of them were promoted. I am a Hindu, but I don't like the caste system, which has been a part of Hinduism for thousands of years. In fact, I think the caste system is a terrible evil. I hear that in rural India, its power continues like it always has, though, of course, in cities like Bombay, where I grew up, I barely noticed it at all. Some who approach this from one side or another might find the conversation frustrating, but I think we need to keep talking in depth with people we disagree with. I want to thank Dr. Grewal for inviting me to his home for this project, for giving me the time and attention, and answering all my questions with seriousness and depth. In the show notes, you'll find links to the books that he recommends. Now, on with the interview. So I have here with me Dr. Grewal. Could you let me know your background a little bit, please, when you came to the United States and where you grew up, etc.?
So I am a cardiologist. I grew up in Punjab and I migrated in 1975 to Canada, and then I was there for about a year and came to US. I did my medical training in Massachusetts, both medicine and cardiology in Boston area. Then I came in 1982, I moved to California.
And how did you get involved in the issues of Sikh justice and, the political aspects?
Well, growing up in a Sikh family, educated family, my father was a professor, my mother was educated, so I was always aware of these things, but I was not very much involved personally in any of the issues. From 75 to 82, I hardly ever attended any Indian functions. I had no interest. But in 84 was the turning point. The first eye-opener was the interview at CBS, 60 Minutes, Murli Sefer interviewing people at the Golden Temple. I did not know that things were that serious. And then just about a week later, around that time, there was attack on Golden Temple. So the attack on Golden Temple, to me, was not attack on one person or one party. Attack on other 35 gurdwaras, I think it was attack on Sikh nation. That's what I perceive, that this is attack on Sikh nation and it's not acceptable.
And then, of course, there was the attacks on the Sikhs after the Indira Gandhi assassination.
In 1984, we also started a newspaper in this area from Stockton, World Sikh News. Our purpose was to disseminate what was happening back home. So it was in English and Punjabi. So we did that weekly newspaper for 12 years. So from day to day, I was very aware of what's going on. And it was a massacre, genocide, and unrelenting attack on the Sikh nation.
Were you involved in the seeking for accountability after that attack? Because I know there's been many commissions held in India, many investigations. People have given affidavits. Were you involved in that at all?
Well, we didn't think any of the justice can be obtained in India because I think from the beginning, from what you see, they mistrust the Sikhs. Nehru, Gandhi, they didn't keep any promises. So any commissions and all that was never going to be achieving anything. So our purpose was to bring to the rest of the free world what was happening in India. That's what we were doing with the World Sikh News. So we'll send all the massacre reports to Member of Parliament in Canada, UK, and US Congress. So disseminate what was going on and putting pressure on Indian government, hopefully that they listen to people in other countries. And I think it did have some effect. It's hard to measure political effect, but it did have some effect, I think.
And recently, I think last year, I heard that that Jagdish Titler was finally charged. Do you think that's going to lead to anything good, or is that too late, or how do you see that?
Look, this was, to my mind, it was a war declared on Sikh nation. So it was not Titler doing, it was the government led by Indira Gandhi. So the declaration of war by the Indira Gandhi was something that Sikhs have to respond. So Sikhs could only respond to organized army and guerrilla warfare. I think that continued for 12 years. So this war was bad. Thousands of innocent people died, maybe on both sides. Few thousand soldiers of Indian army died. Indira Gandhi, the prime minister who thought she was a queen, she died. The chief of Indian army died. Chief minister of Punjab died. One very senior policeman officer, head of the police in Punjab died. And thousands of others died. So both sides paid very heavy price. I can't say that I'm very happy, but war is never good. But the Sikhs generally have been well versed in guerrilla warfare, and few hundred, maybe few dozen, few hundred people whose conscience was bothering them took upon themselves and they responded. So this continued for 12 years. So one titler going to jail here or there, what happened to the rest of them? What about the Narasimha Rao? What about the Bhagat? Nothing happened. It's not a justice. One person going to jail is too little.
I find it interesting that you called it a guerrilla warfare because people have called it an insurgency. So it's an interesting
No,
framing.
he was responding to war. Insurgency is somebody started. It's government started the war. Sikhs responded by what they knew as a guerrilla warfare.
So coming to today.
So nobody else started them. They only responded to the attack.
Coming to today, what do you think are the biggest issues of facing Sikhs and how of Sikh justice, let us say?
But justice is the same for anybody. Sikhs don't need a different justice. Justice is justice, right? The biggest issue for the Sikhs is to make sure we preserve our identity and we preserve our sovereignty. So Indira Gandhi did all this knowing very well it was the wrong thing. She did it so she can outdo the BJP to get Hindu votes. She wanted to stay in power. So now the RSS in different parties and all that has taken over the country. So it's even, for us, it's even worse. Okay?
Yeah.
According to Sikh gurus, we do not surrender to Brahman's superiority. Okay? We do not like this hereditary priestlyhood. And if we don't fight for our existence, then we're surrendering to the one that we don't want to, and we are not supposed to surrender. Okay? So we can, they try to muddle with the constitution. So sovereignty is the right of the people, not the government. Okay? Sixth Guru declared, maybe almost 100 years before US declared freedom from British, that sovereignty is the right which belongs to the Sikhs, what we call Miri Piri. So that's the beginning of our thought process. The Sikhs are master of their own fate. It didn't start in 84. Okay? To achieve that, Guru Gobind Singh created Khalsa Panth, Panj Pyares and all that. So this is not started yesterday. This is going on for a few hundred years. And there is just no way of putting one person in jail solve our problem. We need sovereignty. We need our own place where people can live according to whatever they want and practice and grow in every aspect. But we are not allowed to do that. Right now, this new government is worse than Indira Gandhi. Look, they have 50 kilometers controlled by the central police, the border area, they say there. But what border are they controlling? Drugs are still coming in. Okay, they're killing Punjabis, both Hindu, Sikhs, by drugs, which if you have a 50-kilometer border controlled by CRP, where did the drug can go through? It's impossible to think. All Punjab universities have vice chancellors out of Punjab. We have many learned Sikhs, Hindus, non-Hindus from Punjab who could qualify for this, but they are not allowed to. Bijli board, Bhagda Dam board, everybody outside Punjab. So the Punjab is, they're treating us as an occupied land, not even state of India. Under those circumstances, there is just no way mentally for us or Sikh nation as a whole to surrender.
Now, you mentioned drugs coming in, and I'm going to ask the question that a lot of people have said that they are being sent in by Pakistan in order to weaken the youth of India. And do you agree with that characterization, firstly?
But if you have a sealed border, where did Pakistan can send those to?
Is it just incompetence?
These are, these intelligence agencies play all the dirty games. They will give impression they are controlling, but they also do these things. A lot of governments make money by this drug system and people just don't know. All the illegal activities they do, that's how they finance them.
So your contention is that the Indian government is deliberately creating a drug problem?
They are. That is my assessment. If they want to stop, they can.
Okay, so it sounds like in your mind, the only solution is a new country for Sikhs, essentially, independence, if I understand you correctly.
New country or old country, I am not sure what is the right word, but with Sikhs are free. They can enjoy their culture, their religion, and their heritage, and there's no supreme power blocking it. That's the definition of sovereignty, where the Sikhs have their own control. I'm not saying non-Sikhs shouldn't stay in Punjab. Punjab belongs to all of them. I have no problem with that. So I don't see any other solution which is going to be acceptable or possible.
Except for independence in your mind.
Independence.
Yeah. So now let's talk about that. That is generally called Khalistan, independent Punjab, right? That's how Sikhs have framed it. Now, what do you see? How do you envision that country? So I'll ask you some questions about how you envision that, right?
Okay. I brought these 3 books for you to understand. So Khalistan is the word started by Ra, not by Sikhs. Okay, so this is a book by G.V. Sidhu.
Yeah, and
He
to
was a
clarify,
Ra officer who clearly states here that they started this, Indira Gandhi, and according to them, this was all planned by them and they carried out.
so to be clear, RAW is the Indian Intelligence Agency.
Yes.
And RAW.
But
and
the RAW, all agencies, they work very closely with the Prime Minister. They don't do anything without the Prime Minister.
yeah.
And in this book, he's clearly stating that it was Indira Gandhi who did this. Now, let's
But
go,
again-
one second, let's
Yeah.
go to the second one. Ramesh Inder Singh's book, Turmoil in Punjab. He was a deputy commissioner of Amritsar at the time of attack on Golden Temple. They changed. The other one was sent on vacation or he took a vacation, whatever the circumstance was. In this book also, it's clearly said that it was all Indira Gandhi. She never wanted to achieve any compromise. She was determined to do this. Okay? This is all government officers, not me saying. Finally, the governor of Punjab at that time, B.D. Pandey, has not only endorsed, made it very clear that Punjab was not a law and order problem, not any more than other states. Indira Gandhi was determined and she carried it out. He was so afraid for his life, he told his family to publish this book 5 years after death. I think they published later. So this is not me saying it. This is the people who work for government. I have documented that this was the determined position of Indira Gandhi and she wanted to do that.
Okay.
So this cannot be insurgency. This is responding to the war.
Right. So to be clear, so couple things, right? So you're saying, and I read the GBS Sidhu book
But
partly
you should also
through-
read even the other 2, Pandey's.
Yeah, I will, and I'll put these in show notes, the names of the books and the authors, and the links. So 2 things. One is that you're saying the concept of independent Punjab was created by Indira Gandhi, and the
No, the concept was already there. She
Okay.
created political scenario for her election.
right.
But this political scenario went beyond her imaginations. It woke up the Sikhs. Sikhs
Right,
always have a
exactly.
dream of getting their Raj back. You know, if you go to Gurdwara, the Sikh prayer ends with Raj karega Khalsa Aki rahe na koi. So this is a dream, this is a vision of Sikh nation to have their own Raj back someday. So this didn't start in 84.
I understand, and but you're saying the war was created by Indira Gandhi, or I'm trying to pinpoint exactly.
It brought to the surface what was kind
The
of
woman.
people thinking but not doing anything about it.
Yeah. Now the name Khalistan.
So
that's
she
the
was a
second-
catalyst.
She was a catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the second thing is the name of Khalistan. You're saying that also was created by Ra, or is
According
that
to this, it looks like they created by Ra, but it syncs very well with the Sikh mind.
Yeah. Okay. So it was created at that time, and the idea of Khalistan. And I was going to approach how you envision a country like that, a nation like that. What do you see the borders as? After all, the old Punjab was both in Pakistan and in India. How do you envision the borders of such a country?
I don't think I can define the borders. I think the circumstances will create. Borders of the countries are changing all the time. Every few years, every few decades, countries' borders change, and that's a story all over the world. Okay.
But borders,
I can't sit in Tracy and say what will be the border. I think it will be the final situation when this happens, where Sikhs can achieve what they can and what can they negotiate. I think that'll be the border.
second,
But it has to include majority Sikh states so that we feel that they are protected.
second question is, do you envision it as a secular country? And I've asked many people this question because I find that there's a contradiction in how people think of it. People say it's a state for Sikhs. But when you talk to any one person, and I've talked to a few, they always say it's for all religions. So it's just kind of, it's not clear to me.
It has to be based on Sikh Guru's teaching, Sikh principles, and historical evidence. Sikhs have never, even during Sikh rule, Baba Banda Bahadur Singh was the first ruler, then Maharaj Singh, they have never gone and killed innocent Hindus or Muslims. That's not the Sikh teaching. So, if and when there's a free country called Khalistan, anybody who wants to live there will be free to live there. I don't think it's meant to be only for Sikhs. That's not possible, and that's not the aim.
What about, like, there's a referendum project going on right now, right? Where I actually have talked to Dr. Sandhu there. He mentioned that they want to have a vote within Punjab, like that's the goal, is to have an official referendum.
Yes.
And you would, and he, at least his opinion was that all Punjabis should be allowed to vote, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, everyone.
I agree with him. I think that's right.
But then you get into the issue of, for one thing, from what I understand, Sikhs within India don't want a secession most of the time, mostly, that's what I've heard. And secondly, if you allow other religions to vote, that's not a referendum that's likely to succeed.
From what I have heard Dr. Sandhu say, that anybody who belongs to Punjab, originally not the people migrated now last 20, 30 years to dilute our population, should be allowed to vote. Okay? That should be open to all Punjabis. I think that's what he said, and I think that's I agree with that.
Okay, hold on. Sidebar. This needs a bit of explanation. I was actually, unfortunately, not quick enough on my feet to push back adequately during the interview. So let's grant first that India is never going to allow a referendum to be held within its borders. But theoretically, let's say a referendum for the secession of Punjab were to be held in the state tomorrow. If, as the organizers of the Khalistan referendum say, all indigenous Punjabis ought to be allowed to vote, then for one thing, there's no hope of such a referendum succeeding because close to 50% of Punjab residents are non-Sikh. And Khalistan is defined as, it's always been known as a state for Sikhs. So if that's the goal, which is all indigenous Punjabis being permitted to vote within Punjab, then I feel like this non-binding referendum that's been held all over the cities in the West should also strive to reach all indigenous Punjabis of all religions to make their voices heard. But if you look at the official referendum page, only Sikhs are asked to vote. So then there's another factor. Dr. Grewal arbitrarily set the definition of indigenous Punjabis to mean not those who have moved here in the last 10 years to dilute our population. So what does that mean? I'm pretty uncomfortable with such arbitrary definitions of who counts as a Punjabi based on ethnic origin and such ideas of dilution, just as I'm uncomfortable with definitions of who counts as American based on ethnic origin. Anyone who can show residence in a state in a free country should count as a citizen of that state. That's why I'm an official resident of California, even though I technically dilute, in quotes, the population of California. So, like I said, I don't think India will ever permit the Khalistan referendum within its borders, but here I'm pointing out that the plan isn't well defined. They needed to include all indigenous people of Punjab to pass muster with, you know, bodies like the UN, but that makes it pretty much impossible to succeed. This is just my opinion. Okay, back to the interview.
So we're not trying to remove anybody there. So what is the concept of sovereignty, right? You are a student of journalism. The sovereignty belongs to people, not to the king or the prime minister. They are officials. People decide and people choose the government and they create a constitution. Government doesn't create a constitution. People constitute and create a constitution to see what the government want, what they want government to do. So this present Indian constitution was never accepted by Sikhs. They never signed, but they overruled because the minority people could not outvote them. Okay, like Article 25 is clearly is detrimental to our mind and our existence. So how do we go about knowing what people want, right? You have to give people a chance. To give people a chance, you have to do what in the modern system you have. You don't raise hands, right? If we know what Sikhs want, you go to every Gurdwara and say, listen to the prayer, Raj karega Khalsa, Aaki rahe na koi. If you think that's a referendum, that's fine. But Mr. Panu, who's an attorney, who's smart and learned how the new world works, went around, studied it, and started this process. The way Sikhs can all say what they want. Okay. Referendum is where people vote on one issue. It could be part of bigger election, it could be part of one issue. So I don't know why the Indian government is reacting to this issue. They have killed at least one person, killed maybe more, and they were trying to kill him. That has actually energized most of us more.
So I've
You
heard.
try to oppress Sikhs, they will respond worse. So having Sikhs go there asking the question, because we think we are all part of Sikh nation. Okay, definition of nation is not limited to a geographical area. It's the people's heritage, their culture, their religion, land, and previous history, glorious history, and the will to live in future. Okay, that's the definition of nature, the nation. There are many nations, they don't have a country. Palestinians don't have a free country. Jews didn't have a free country. Okay, Kurds don't have a free country, but they are a nation. So similarly, Sikhs are a nation. So how the Sikh nation will decide they want to have a Khalistan or independent country, you have to let them have a chance to say. So this is not any illegal process. This is very open process conducted under the supervision of UN representatives or whatever their title is. To me, it's the Indian government atrocities making people more active. If somebody says, okay, you want to live in California, you want to live in Massachusetts, what's the response? Why somebody should be stopping you from telling where you should live? So I think you went to the San Francisco referendum. It was not motivated or stirred by any party. People were there, I think almost 225, 250,000 people came from all over and they expressed. They didn't have any particular dress, they didn't have any particular, they were just angry and responding to what the Modi is trying to do, kill Sikhs. So they made Mr. Pannu's job easier. Before he had to explain to people. Now I think people are saying, okay, thank you very much. We should have listened to you before.
One of the things I sometimes think about is, there's been many groups that have fought for justice. within the US, African Americans have fought for civil rights for
Yeah.
more than 200 years. And even today, as we saw with the BLM movement,
Yes.
the fight continues. Now, they're not asking for a separate nation. They're working within the bounds of the Constitution of the United States, and they face many setbacks, but they keep slowly gaining power, going through the voting system. What's wrong with that approach? Finding representation within the government of the
I
country.
think you miss my point. We're not trying to be a nation. We are a nation.
Right.
We are a nation who had our own home and our land. We are a nation, and we were trying to see what the nation as a whole want to go do what. So that's this referendum movement is asking the people the question, do you want free Sikh state, Khalistan, whatever you want to call? We're already a nation. We're not trying to be a nation. So you can't compare us with the other movements in US because it was not their country. They were not nation here. This country belonged to the Native Americans. So all of us came later. So only one who you can compare to maybe Native Americans, but they have been subdued so much. I don't think they have any strength left, or they want to. Whatever is there between them. So we're not going to accept that we're not a nation. We are a nation, and we have the right as a nation to decide our future. We can't be compared because one group didn't want. It's their choice.
Okay. One of the other things I've noticed is that, for one thing, almost everyone who came to the referendum voted in favor, right?
Yeah, but there were only two questions.
There were only two, there was only
So
one.
you can see what motivated them. They didn't come to say no.
That's my point, is that there are so many Sikhs I know in my life
Yeah.
who are not even aware that there's a referendum going on.
But
Because-
they were aware of, I think this killing of Sikhs made people aware that we needed
Yes,
more.
that became a big news, but when I've checked, did you vote, did you go to the referendum, many of them have said they're not even aware and they're not interested in creating a Khalistan or any kind of change that is dramatic.
The people who don't want to know what's going around, it's their choice. But their choice cannot be imposed on people who are aware of, who are interested in the future. They have to chart their course and move on. I can't be led by somebody who didn't want to. When I went to school, not everybody went to medical school, but that I can't be looking back at them, they didn't do, I shouldn't do it. It's the choice you make.
One of the things that I think about is anytime you said that countries change their borders, but here's the real fact. Every time there's a border change, there's violence. It's not something that comes for free.
So what was in 84? That was not violence. What was in New Delhi after Indira Gandhi done the Sikh genocide? That was not violence.
No, there was, and that's
So is there a guarantee that won't happen again? Is there somebody who can give guarantee that? I met Jethmalani after 84. He was trying to talk to us, let's together. It was Indira Gandhi. I said, can you guarantee? He said, no. There's nobody who can say that they can guarantee what happened in Delhi, where they burned people with the tires in their neck, won't happen again. So if there's nobody who can guarantee that, what is the need to discuss it?
But there's violence even within countries. Like if there's a country, this is humanity.
Okay, dear. This is a threat to our existence. This is more than violence. They're trying to corrupt Gurbani. They have created so many things. You go online and they're trying to change the meaning of Gurbani or even put Hindi letters in the... This attack from all sides.
Okay, a couple more questions of how you envision, if there was to be a separate state, what would it be? Would it be a democratic country? Who gets to run it? One thing I will say that I saw a video where Panu was questioned by people who live in Punjab, like people who are not in the diaspora, and one of the main questions he was asked is, are you planning to run a country like that? Like they said, we've heard about this so-called concept of Khalistan, but who would run it? Are you planning to run it? So I sensed that there was some sort of fear that, because people in India might say, why are people who don't even live in Punjab setting the rules and setting the government, creating the government of a country like that? Do you see my point?
Yeah, that's a very shallow point, has no depth for discussion. When Subhash Chandra Bose was in Japan fighting for liberation of India, why was he fighting from outside? Why did he have to leave? Who got Poland freed from Russia? Is the Polish people inside or outside? Is the Polish people outside? Pope, President Reagan, they worked together to liberate Poland from Russia. So there are many, many examples. Where were the Jews living before there was Israel? Did they decide who is going to be president before or after they get there? Okay? Until you're free, you can't make those decisions. You can't decide up front those questions. When America was freed from British rule, it took them 6-7 years to form a constitution and elect a leader. So this question is just to insult people. Oh, they're not capable. They don't know what they're doing. When there be freedom, people will be free to choose what constitution they will have, who will lead. It won't be me. Whosoever is there at the scene participating, they will decide, and that'll be fine. When India got freedom in 47, they divided. When did they become republic? 1950 something. Okay, they were working on constitution for 4 or 5 years before. So Pannu cannot decide who will run. I can't decide. You can't decide. It will be the final push when people get free. They will sit down and think freely, and they will have a constitution, and they will see how they want, who they want. So we cannot tell you up front. This is just not a possibility. This is a question, you can never answer that question, and that shouldn't be a question at all.
Okay, one last question on the topic of Khalistan, then I'll move on, which is, and I sort of approach that, but if there is a border change, I mean, what I worry about, and you sort of said there was violence in 84, and I understand, but there would be such a resurgence of violence if there was an actual border change. Plus, there are Sikhs who live all over India. They have, full families, settlements, they do different things.
You're preaching to the choir. My family lived Lalpur, which is in Pakistan. They were uprooted in 47. So we have already seen what you're talking about. It's not new to us. My father was a professor. He organized a refugee camp in Khalsa College to get the Hindus and Sikhs out of there because that was the circumstances. He left in November, not in August. He left in November, and he was running that with the help of his students and friends. Yes, there will be violence. It's not the first time that we will see it. What we saw in 47 was very ugly and bad. I know some people whose daughters got killed and left, and they could never find it. So, okay, we are aware of that. But that cannot be deterrent for us not to pursue our goal.
And the concern about, there are Sikhs who, let's say, live in Bombay, who live in the south, and they have no intention of moving to Punjab.
Okay, they are Jews living in New York. They never went to, but they want Israel to be free. Okay? They are Jews back in Germany. They want their nation to be free and strong, but they can live wherever they want. But they're still supporters, right? So Sikhs living abroad, they all don't have to leave their home. They can live wherever they want, prosperous, do their business, but in their own heart, majority of them, I don't have any doubt, they'll be well-wishers of this free Sikh nation. You can call it Khalistan, whatever they decide to call it. Right now, Khalistan, the only name we go by.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to today's politics in India. There's a candidacy of someone called Amritpal Singh, who's running for the Lok Sabha. How do you see that candidacy? I've seen discussions among the diaspora who want to, Khalistan, whatever you call it, who don't agree that he should even participate in elections of the Indian government. Then others say that he should. So how do you see Amritpal? How do you see his candidacy? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I live in a free country. I am able to express. Amritpal was not in a free country. Look, he's picked up in Punjab and sent to Assam, and the charges are still in Punjab. Even Modi said it's not central government case. Well, if it's not central government case, why he's in Assam? So whatever decision he makes based on these circumstances, that's his decision. I am nobody to tell him to do it or not. I think this is his decision, his conscience, and I'm going to leave that to him.
Do you support his candidacy? I mean, I know
I don't have a vote there.
No, don't have a vote, but I've seen a lot of people in the diaspora put out statements in support of his candidacy, or condemning the fact that he's even running. So would you vote for him if you were there in Punjab today?
Okay, let me explain. I think where we started. For first thing, to run for election, you have to say you will obey the Indian Constitution and the laws, whatever you have to sign under that, right? That Constitution is not fair. That's not the Constitution we accept. For me to support candidates in Punjab is not something I aspire to. I have never supported any candidate in Punjab. I don't participate. People who are there, they have to make their own judgment.
Okay.
It's not up to me to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Whatever he thinks is the right thing he wants to do is his decision, and consequences also for his. It's him to explain what he does or not. It's not for me to explain what he does. I'm not going to attack him. I think he's probably well-meaning and stuck in the circumstances with a very limited choices.
Do you see him as, some people say he's the heir to Bhindranwale? Do you see him like that, in the same sort of stature or same sort of, whatever Bhindranwale meant to the Sikh community?
I think whatever Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale did is something the Sikhs will remember forever. I don't think there's any need to compare anybody to him. I don't think there's anybody currently that we can compare to him. Maybe somebody will outdo him, but this is just of no use discussion. Is he as good or not? I think it's up to people to decide. In my assessment, what Sant Jarnail Singh did, we owe a lot to him. He sacrificed his life. He was a victim of circumstances. Indira Gandhi created the circumstances, but he fought bravely and did not give in.
Before Operation Blue Star, though, there were many reports that he was doing militancy in Punjab. He had vigilantes who were sent out to kill innocent people.
Okay, this is the Deputy Commissioner of Punjab. He has no word by governor or him that there was any case registered against him, and as they went to SGPC, that they want to arrest him. I met Mr. Broad, who was a Deputy Commissioner until the June 3rd or 4th or something. He said too, there was no case registered against him for killing or anything. They never served any summons to SGPC that this guy is in your jurisdiction, we want him. So how can then we believe that he was wanted by killing and all that? He was the one who even was helping even Hindus get some justice.
So you don't accept that he was involved in a militancy, that he did have a lot of weapons stashed in the temple.
Well, the Sikhs are supposed to have weapons for self-defense. I'm never going to criticize anybody who wants to have weapons for self-defense. This is even American Constitution allows you, right? This is the debate here.
Yeah, here it's
So
pretty
if he has a
unusual,
weapon, a
right?
lot of weapons actually were sent by the government inside so they can find an excuse to attack.
Sidebar once again. There are few subjects as fraught as the legacy of Bhindranwale, the radical Sikh cleric who generally people consider to have kick-started the insurgency in Punjab in the 80s. Sikhs, though, see him, or a Sikh activist, I should say, see him as a martyr who died for their faith, as you heard Dr. Grewal express. Other Indians who lived through, and including Sikhs who lived through that era, think of him as a terrorist who basically instituted a reign of, vigilante violence all over the state of Punjab. I'm not going to settle this debate here. I'm just calling it out as a live issue that's debated even today, and I'm inclined to do a whole episode on his Bhindranwale's fraught history. Back to the interview. Okay, let's go to today. There's been a lot of accusations that the Indian government has killed people, killed Sikh activists. One was Niger in Canada. Of course, there was an attempt on Panu's life. There were some in Pakistan who were killed
in London.
in London. So
Maybe many more.
so you accept those accusations. You think that it was indeed the Indian
I don't
government?
think we can call accusations. This is a criminal act. Even the U.S. government has registered a case against them.
Yeah.
The Canadian Prime Minister has spoken in Parliament, and I don't know why you keep saying accusation. This is not accusation. This is the criminal act. Even Modi himself saying, "Ghuske marenge." You have to listen to the Prime Minister, what he's saying.
Yeah.
So,
I will say
this is a criminal act, very unacceptable.
I think the U.S. case, there's an actual charge sheet. They have found the
In Canada, they have arrested 4 people.
Yeah, so the 4 people they were arrested, but they haven't yet shown the links
But
to the Indian government. Yeah.
They have, Prime Minister said in the Parliament that they have this information. So
Yeah.
the court process takes time.
Okay, but you.
And what about the Prime Minister of India saying "Ghuske marenge"? Even now they have said it during election.
Yeah.
They have admitted that they did,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If they admit they're doing, why are we still calling accusations?
No, I think that.
Why are we giving benefit of doubt? I think you as a journalist have a responsibility to have the correct narrative.
I think that, to be clear, the comment he made about the Ghuske marenge, that was in reference to Pakistan. And I think that even in India, if you ask people, they accept that they did the killings in Pakistan, but they don't yet accept the killing of Niger or the UK killing. Was that
Because Pakistan is relatively weak, so they don't think Pakistan will respond. They can't say that to US and get away.
So in other words,
US is a power,
yeah,
so they had to admit. They have admitted they did wrong. No, they're trying to just blame one person or 2%, but the government has already agreed that they did it. So why is accusation when the government has admitted they did it wrong? Their officers did wrong.
yeah.
They're just trying to blame on lower level people than the Prime Minister or Doval or something.
2 more questions on that.
No, but first I agree that we have a discussion. So when they have admitted, why are we calling accusation? You need to correct your narrative.
I think that
If you are interviewing a Sikh, you need to be fair on both sides.
no, absolutely. If you ask my personal opinion, I think they did it. This is my personal opinion.
But then you shouldn't be asking as accusation.
No, I think it's because officially, I'm trying to be very specific about what has been proven versus still an
Yeah.
allegation. In the US, it's a different scene because there's an actual indictment. To be even more specific, that also hasn't been proven, but at least there's a very strong, there's an indictment, they've got text messages connecting to the
I know, but the
Indian
government has already admitted that it was their officer.
That, yes, so
Okay,
the
so when
US
they
case is
admitted
different.
any
Yeah.
officer of the government means the whole government. It's their duty to control their officers.
Yeah,
This Goyal, Modi, Amit Shah, Taranjit Sandhu, they were all involved. They are all crooks of first class.
but
They
I
had
would-
no conscience, and and we cannot trust them.
Now, I just want to distinguish between that case and the Canadian case, because as far as I know in Canada, they've caught 4 people who seem to be the guilty parties, and that link is still an allegation. I just want to be specific.
It's
And-
okay, it's
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
It'll come.
okay, we'll wait and
I
see.
think the Prime Minister of country wouldn't go say things without evidence.
That is probably true, because they also share intelligence with the US. So I will say that if you ask me to put my money on it, I would bet, excuse me, India did it, but I want to be very specific
Yeah,
that
okay.
there has
Now,
not
at least
been.
we agree on something.
Yeah. Secondly, now the person involved in Canada who was killed, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, right? The Indian government has made many accusations about him, that he was involved in militancy.
He did no violence against India. They could do the same thing because I'm talking to you, I'm proposing this, they could have the same allegation against me.
Yeah,
Okay, but that's not a reason to kill somebody.
no, I agree, but
Dissent doesn't mean animosity.
dissent is a very different thing, and yes, they have not proven all the allegations they
No.
made. But a couple of the things that seem to have evidence, couple of the accusations seem to have some evidence behind it that they made against Nijjar. One is that he seems to have visited Pakistan to meet Jagtar Singh Tara there in Pakistan while he was.
Okay, just stop there.
Yeah,
Sikhs are free to travel wherever they want. Modi doesn't tell us. I have gone to Pakistan twice. I have met Pakistanis, I've gone, seen my ancestral home, village. We came from there.
absolutely.
Just because I went to Pakistan, I'm guilty?
No. Let's not jump
Let
ahead.
me tell you, if that
Yeah.
makes me guilty, I will be going again, tell them to kill me too.
Yeah, no, I don't want to jump ahead. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
so-
he's guilty for.
Just
going to
because you're going to
Pakistan.
Pakistan doesn't mean Pakistan.
No,
We have a
absolutely.
gurdwaras, we have ancestral home. We are still very much tied up with the Punjab as a whole.
And the only reason I bring this up
Yeah.
is because, and I completely agree that just meeting someone holding a weapon in Pakistan is not reason to be guilty. I completely accept that. The only reason I bring it up is because Panu has denied that that was even him. But it was indeed him.
I am just telling you, if he did, I don't know if he did or not,
Yeah,
he's free to do that.
absolutely. No,
So
I
that
fully
is
accept, yeah.
that's not a reason to kill somebody who visited Pakistan.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the second thing
The
that.
thousands of people from Punjab cross to go to Pakistan each year. So they're going to kill all of them?
No. I
If there's
don't-
somebody sitting there, Gurdwara, they met him, they're going to kill them?
I think I'm trying to be really specific about what facts were claimed and what was denied.
Yeah.
None of it means that he should be killed. I will
Yeah.
grant that.
Yeah, they killed an innocent person just because of his views.
And I will.
That's wrong.
Let me go further. Even if they found that he had done militancy in India, still killing him in this extrajudicial way is not.
No,
the
they
right
never
way.
asked Canadian government that he's wanted.
Oh, they did. They did have.
No, they have to present evidence
evidence, and I think
that
that's where they fell
is
short.
sufficient enough.
Yeah, and I
Right?
think the Canadian
If,
government.
if you remember the Turkish president, whatever the leader, before the last election, he had blamed some Turkish person in US, that US is CIA using them. But he could never convince them enough that he had done something wrong in Turkey to extradite him. So you had to give that much evidence, which is convincing enough.
Right, and they did not apparently provide enough evidence.
Yes.
And there was another topic about Nijjar that I was going to talk about. Oh, the other accusation they made, and let me state up front, that is not a reason to go and shoot him,
Yes.
but an accusation that has been made is that he was the leader of the Khalistan Tiger Force, which is a militant organization.
Khalistan leader, their creator was Dr. Chauhan. And he went back to India, he was free until he died. So they didn't kill him.
Right.
He was a bigger leader than Ninja.
Yeah, and again, I'm not.
What I'm saying is that there is no real connection here which justify killing innocent man.
Absolutely, I agree with that, and I'm just trying to lay out the facts about him.
I know, but that's what they're saying, but that is not enough.
Yeah, I agree it's not enough. So, but do you know if he was the leader of the Khalistan Tiger Force?
Everybody leader of Khalistan, every Sikh is a leader or something. Why not?
No,
What's wrong with that?
no, I'm saying
He
no.
was the president
I'm
of
not.
Gurdwara, well liked.
Yeah,
He was doing what he believed was the right thing to do. He didn't commit any crime. Nobody in Canada arrested him. Nobody arrested him anywhere else. So he's free to do whatever other people were doing.
absolutely, and I'm not questioning that. Just trying to pin down what people know about his biography. That's all.
Well, people will learn more about what he was doing in a few months, I think. The more research being done.
Yeah. A brief note to explain the accusations against India for these assassinations. The accusations were that they orchestrated assassinations of Sikh activists offshore. I want to be clear where those investigations stand. One was an attempt on the Sikhs for Justice founder, Banu's life in New York. The other was the murder of the Sikh temple head, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, in Canada. Nothing has been proven officially in either of these cases through a trial in a court of law. But if I were to bet, I would bet that the Indian government did indeed order these assassinations. This is why. In the U.S. indictment regarding the attempt on Banu's life, the prosecutors had them cold. It was obvious from the text messages that they recovered that the Indian intelligence official Vikas Yadav planned the hit. It was very clear. Even the government of India has accepted his guilt. Now, they're trying to pass it off as a rogue action, but I can't imagine a reason why an official would go rogue and perform an act like this of his own accord on the nation's on someone that his nation has accused of being a terrorist. It seems obvious to me that he was carrying out the wishes of his superiors. Now for Niger. There, the Canadian PM, Justin Trudeau, made an accusation, but so far he hasn't produced the evidence. 4 men have been arrested who actually did the gun shot and the killing, and they remain in custody. But their links to the Indian government are yet to be proven. Though again, I personally would not be surprised to find that the Indian government actually did orchestrate the hit because from some of the texts coming out of the Banu case mention Niger as their target. So now let's go to Niger. For more than a decade, he was accused by India for a long line of offenses within Punjab. These include bomb attacks, gun deaths, delivering weapons, funding terror, and basically trying to restart an insurgency within Punjab by funding and orchestrating attacks. The accusations India made against him were not just about peaceful dissent. But I want to be clear that just as we have not seen Canada's evidence for backing up Trudeau's accusation, we also haven't seen India's evidence regarding regarding Niger. Here are the only things that we know for certain. We know that Niger was put on the no-fly list in Canada and in the US. We know that he was the leader of the militant group Khalistan Tiger Force. This group is a descendant of the Babar Khalsa International. That group, the BKI, the Babar Khalsa International, is an accepted terror group. It's even on Canada's terrorist entities list. Back to the interview. One last question, and then I'll ask you to tell me anything that you think I missed. But one last question is, do you see Western countries as your allies in your struggle? Or do you see them more, and specifically I mean Canada, UK, the US, do you see them as being allied in your struggle, or do you see them as allied with India? Because obviously the two sides are very diametrically opposed on this question of Khalistan.
The countries have their own policies. I do not have anything that I know to say they are our allies. I think India is a big country, big business. I think they are not going to publicly do anything to ruin their relationship, their business, and all that. But at the same time, I think if we present our case right, like this killing of Hardeep Singh, trying to kill Pannu, I think on issues like that, I think there's a wider support that this is wrong. With that support, is it translating into free country or not? I don't think I know enough.
Okay.
But it's good to have any support, even on human rights or something. That's anything positive, we should take it.
I think that's the end of my questions. Do you have anything that you would like to share that I might have missed talking about? Any topic, any issues?
I think one thing is to report on the events. But the other thing is to think of right and wrong. And, some of the journalists, especially India media, is very biased. They just suck up to the whosoever is in government. Here you are in a free country. I think you should try to find the facts. Educate yourself and report the facts. If they go against me, that's fine. If they go in favor of me, that's fine. I'm not saying do you do me a favor or Sikh nation a favor, but stick to the facts. I think facts are very important. If you see what people before have done, I don't know how much have you read. If you ever get a chance to read Common Sense, Age of the Reason, Rights of a Man, these are the Thomas Paine books, which shaped the American Constitution and also had an effect on French Revolution. Okay, so many good human beings have done things for the humanity which were not accepted by rulers. But if those people didn't exist, we would be never free, never have achieved what America achieved or French Revolution achieved. So that's very learning point. I think thinking like a free person, thinking like a rational person, I think is good for the journalists, good for the society. That's one thing. And if you can send a message to Mr. Modi, you can too, that the tyrants will be removed sooner or later. There's some Roman philosophers have said, if you are not afraid of dying, tyrants can be stripped of their power. So not everybody is afraid of Guske marenge. I think he has taken it wrong. He was hiding as a Sikh during emergency with a turban. He lived in Punjab and he has forgotten all that.
I mean, if you ask him, he would say he has not forgotten. He was still dressed in a turban and he went to...
Yeah, but what are they doing by action?
Yeah.
What they're doing by action. I think the Punjab is being ruined.
What would you say to the people who... There are many, at least some Sikhs who are working in the BJP, who have joined the BJP, right? Modi's party. One I can tell you is, I think his name is Bittu. He's Beyant Singh's grandson. Another one is Mika Gill. They speak very eloquently about not just Sikh issues, but also they're in favor of the BJP.
Who is a Bittu? He is a grandson of...
Beyant Singh.
Beyant Singh was killing Sikhs, right? He got killed because of his actions. So there's some inherent properties he has inherited.
Well,
and he's look, until the last day he jumped the ship, because what they're doing is they have an enforcement directorate. They show them, look, we have this, either you join us or you be prosecuted. So people who are not strong, they have done wrong, they're very easy praise.
Yeah, the Beyant Singh killing, though, yes.
No, but I'm saying forget about Beyant Singh. But I'm saying, look, even in the Delhi Gurdwara president, one day talking about the Sikhs, he doing this, he looks so good. And the next day he's a BJP spokesman. Because what they have done is easy for government to say, look, you have done so wrong, You want to go to jail or join us?
So you're saying,
So they don't want to go to jail.
so you think that people like it's the Sarpanch, Mika Gill or someone like Bittu, they're being threatened. That's why they're joining BJP? Just to be clear.
I don't know who Mika Gale is, but B2 I think has been paid. I heard that he has been paid by BJP too. I don't know. I don't know the truth. I'm not there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And only one thing I would like to say, the Beyant Singh killing, yes, there were a lot of complaints about him being a tyrant,
Yeah.
but the killing also killed 16 other innocent people.
What has happened in war, innocent people will die. It was a war. One was an organized army, other was a guerrilla force. In war, many innocent people will die. War is never good.
Wouldn't Beyant Singh say the same thing? Like, I'm trying to control insurgency, innocent people will die. Wouldn't
Yeah,
he
there's
make the
always
same-
two sides of the story, but his history before he became chief, when people in Punjab knew, he was basically gundagardi karde si. He was not benevolent person or something.
Okay.
That's up to people to judge. But people change parties all the time. In India, there is no standard. One, you don't know who is in what party. Every day they're changing. Most of them, I think, cannot stand the threat.
What about Akali Dal? They're a Sikh-based party, right?
I think they have lost their originality. They have lost their mind, and they don't belong. They have destroyed themselves. They forgot what they were about, and they just went for cheap popularity. I think basically they are irrelevant now in Punjab.
Okay. All right. I think we can leave it at that. Thank you so much. Once again, I want to thank Dr. Grewal for agreeing to talk to me. But I'm not done. Here's the story in brief of Beyant Singh, the Chief Minister of Punjab, who we spoke of tangentially in the interview. It's a telling one. He was the Chief Minister of Punjab during the height of the insurgency in the early 90s. He and his police chief, KPS Gill, are widely credited with breaking the grip of militancy in Punjab. Both of them were Sikhs, by the way. They are also accused of being tyrants. They're accused of human rights abuses and of disappearing young men. I don't think the truth lies in the middle of these two narratives. I think both of these narratives are actually true. In 1995, a group of 6 or 7 young Sikhs conspired to blow up this chief minister with explosives tied around them, around one of them. I think a few of them died. The other ones were caught. One of them is in jail currently. 16 other innocent people, bystanders, also died in the explosion. Now, Dr. Grewal just called it a guerrilla war against the Indian state. You might think this guerrilla war was justified, or you might think it was not justified, but the fact is this so-called guerrilla war, also called an insurgency, was incredibly violent and swept up many innocent people in its wake, as in the assassination of Beyant Singh. So that's how the decade of the 90s went in northern India. While the Khalistanis were pursuing their war against the Indian state, thousands of innocents just trying to live their lives were traumatized, killed, maimed, and many Indians from that era remember it as a decade, a bloody decade of terrorism. In the current era, Khalistanis in the diaspora say that they're being unfairly maligned as terrorists when they merely speak up in peaceful dissent. I think they should be allowed to peacefully dissent. But it's also incumbent on them to wipe out the memory that Indians have of that incredibly violent decade of the 90s by emphatically and repeatedly disavowing non-peaceful, violent means of obtaining justice. Sadly, I don't see them doing that. I hear them justifying the death of innocents as collateral. I hear them not taking responsibility for attacks, as when in 1985 the Air India Flight 182 was blown up by Babar Khalsa terrorists, killing everyone on board, which many Sikh activists today claim was an inside job, akin to 9/11 trutherism. I hear them issuing veiled threats, as when Panu, who is the leader of Sikhs for Justice, regularly threatens Indian officials with, in quotes, the fate that befell Beant Singh, or warns people to stay away from Air India flights, fully meaning to call upon the memory of that Flight 182. I support the Sikh search for justice for the pogrom of 1984, but I think those kinds of veiled threats and justifications for violence are wrong and unfortunate. This is Anila with the Sikh Nation Report. Please like, rate, review, share, and subscribe for more coverage of the Khalistan movement.